Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Bird Fans Forever's podcast. In this episode, we'll have Bob Morris, my coach from 89 to 90, but he actually coached from 89 to 92 for Illinois State and then did broadcasting with Kirk Pegler on the TV. We also have a draft with proud Redbirds, Dave Stappenback, Jared Wheet, and Bobby Wheet. And we will be doing a 6-round draft, 5 players, and a first person off the bench. So that is our episode for episode 5. We'd also like to have you, if you're watching this on YouTube, click the like button and subscribe. Love to have that. If you want to find us on an audio podcast, you can go out to www.birdfansforever.com and you can see where we're linked to. We have Google, Audible, Amazon. So we have all those out there linked, and you can go out there and link, and then you can follow us along and listen to it. So with that, we're going to get started. And so our first guest is going to be Bob Morris. Welcome back to Bird Fans Forever podcast. We are here with our special guest, my coach, Coach Bob Morris. So we're going to get this thing started. Steve, you're off.
Thanks, Coach, for joining us. So,
my pleasure.
What I'd love to know is to start off with is how you joined the Bob Bender staff.
Well, that's a pretty easy answer for me. There was a legendary high school coach in Bloomington, Illinois here that by the name of Tom Hodson, who happened to be Bobby Bender's high school coach. And they had unbelievable success and this and that and everything. Well, and I then, as a high school coach in the area, got to know Tommy really well and coached against him and so forth and so on, and got to know him personally very well. And when Bobby got named the head coach at Illinois State, I got a hold of Hottie and said, hey, I got all kinds of interest in joining up with him. I'd spent some time at Lincoln Junior College coaching. I'd been on the staff with John McDougall up at Northern Illinois, who is, again, a Hall of Fame coach. And at Lincoln College, I was with the Hall of Fame coach, Al Pickering. And so I said, Hottie, help me here. What do I got to do? And he said, I'll call him. I'll get it set up. And next thing you know, I get a phone call, and Bobby and I are sitting over a couple of beverages talking about what I could do to join the staff. And it worked out, and thank God it did. One of the best experiences of my life, no question about it.
And because of that phone call, you get to meet this gentleman here, right? And endure him for your first season, right?
1 year. That's all he got me for is 1 year.
1 year was enough.
1 year was a lifetime. And I say that so jokingly because that is such a special squad and such a special group of guys that, it might have only been 1 year that John and I and the rest of those 5 seniors were together, but it was a lifetime full of memories and lifetime friends.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so we're going to roll on in. So we'll talk about that time. We'll come back and talk about the next year, which a lot of my good friends were on that one, which might not be as memorable because of the number of wins in that season, but talk about coaching in the Valley Tournament.
Well, there were so many emotions going on throughout that week of the Valley Tournament because we were the host. And back then, that was the last year that on campuses got to host the tournament. The following year, it made the transition, and all for the betterment of the Missouri Valley. It went to St. Louis, and it stayed there forever. And they do a phenomenal job of running it down there. But it had always been held at school sites and so forth. So there was just a whole lot of work going into getting ready for that and getting prepared for that, besides getting your own team ready. Our season had been one full, as John can attest to, of ups and downs, that 89-90 year. The transition from coming into a new staff, getting the team to understand our ins and outs, and us learning about them as the season went on. Then we get to the Valley Tournament. We finally are kind of on an uptick at the end of the season, and we get to the Valley Tournament. I've never seen this community jump on board with a team like that in my life. We beat Drake in the first round, and the momentum was building. We then come back and beat Creighton in the second round, that was no given. That was one outstanding Creighton team that we had the good. And then we get to the championship. They must have had the fire marshal tied up and gagged somewhere in a cellar, because there had to be 12,000 people in a place that only seats 10,600, I believe, at that time. It was, you literally could not hear yourself. So it was one of the most emotional, exciting, and obviously great ending to a story I've ever been involved with.
Awesome.
Well, and then, John, to add to that, we had the personal side to it with the passing of Rickey Jackson's mother. Mm-hmm. We didn't know if Rickey was going to be back. You know, we assumed nothing. We were prepared to coach without him, and completely could have understood it. And Rickey's mother, as I'm sure people remember, had lost a battle with cancer, and Rickey had gone home for the funeral and so forth. And you never know what to expect from those scenarios. So we had a couple of game plans as we prepared for the tournament. And as it turned out, thank God he returned and gave us all a show to remember.
He did. He was a little hollow, right? You could see into his eyes that he was in pain.
There was definite
right?
pain there. There was definite pain.
Yeah, it was definite pain. And I remember that conversation. He came into the locker room and said to us that I want to go home and see my mom. We were supposed to go down to Southern. This is the second to last game. Well, I'll come home and play Creighton at home. And he's like, I want to go see mom. We were like, go tell the coaches and go, right? And so he went and talked to you guys, and then he went, and we went down to Southern, and Drod and I talked about it during Drod's podcast, and, you know, it was something that we kind of let him down on. We battled hard down there. Again, it was a Hall of Fame team, you know, with the whole lineup of guys.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Asha Mariah is in the Hall of Fame. Jerry Jones, I think, is in the Hall of Fame. You know, they had Sterling Mahan and Shickley. Those guys are probably qualified, just like the Creighton team, right?
Exactly.
The dynamic duel, they're both in the Hall of Fame, right? With Tony Brony, right? And so that was an awesome team. So, yeah.
Well, do you remember, since you're talking about that Carbondale trip, the game was a heartbreaker. Do you remember what happened after the game when we went to the airport?
I do.
God.
Tell it.
We're crushed after that loss, and all we want to do is get in a plane, get home, turn the page, and get ready for the next one. We had a home game that, who the heck was the next? Creighton. That's
Creighton.
Right.
Last one. We had to win Creighton to lock up third place because we had all lost to each other once.
Yep.
If we didn't, we could fall to fourth place, and we didn't want that.
So we get to the airport, and finally, we're getting everything unloaded from the bus to get on the plane. And they come out and they say, "This plane's not going anywhere." We go, "What are you talking about? There's perfect weather outside. Let's get this show in a row." And they go, "Well, we have the flight attendant is pregnant and she can't fly, and we can't put a plane in the air without a flight attendant. That's rules." Long story short, we don't fly home that night. We get on the horn. We're calling all over the place. We find a bus. And
not even a good bus. It's not even a good bus.
I mean, the Partridge Family wouldn't have ridden in that sucker. Oh, my God.
It was horrible.
It was horrible. And we're all squeezed in there like sardines. And we make that ungodly trip from Carbondale back here to Bloomington Normal. And we stopped at some, gas station and bought every ounce of food that they had, chips and all the things that is going to kill you as you grow older. and everybody. That was it. That was
that was all we had for food. We had no food. And do you remember the heat on the bus?
There was no heat.
There was no heat on the bus in February in Illinois. Yeah. We were all huddled. We were breaking out our game sweats from under the bus when we hit that gas station and putting our game sweats on under our Letterman's jackets to stay warm because we were just so darn cold.
And in hindsight, there had to be an angel looking over us because it might have been one of the best things that happened to us, because instead of lingering on the loss, that goofy bus ride home allowed us to turn the page, laugh about things. By the time we got home, we were all laughing at this. You could see your breath in the bus and things of that nature. That you, instead of lingering and somebody being pissed off because of this or that and a loss, it was time we got home. It was a lighthearted mood again, and we were back to business. As ugly as a bus ride as that was, and I hope no one would ever have to experience that again, it might have helped us.
I do remember passing around bags of Doritos.
That was the main course.
I'm a Division I. I was a Division I basketball player, and we were having to share Doritos on the bus.
Right there, baby.
I think Southern got returned the favor. Was about like 6-7 years ago when they were driving home and they got stuck in a snowstorm in the bus.
They should never attempted that a trip home, but they tried and they didn't get very far. Ended up in a ditch on the interstate.
Yeah.
All right, Coach. We're going on to the next one. So we turn around and we play in the NCAA tournament. Talk about that for us.
Once you probably have as good a stories anyway as I have, John, because once you're in the tournament, you're told what you're going to do, you're told when you're going to do it, and there's no exception to the rules. Your shoot-around times, your practice times, your pickup times when the bus is there, and there's no exception. I mean, there might not be anybody on the court, but you can't enter the court until 12:15 or whenever the designated time is, because that's what it says on the itinerary. And they're holding you back. And it's like, what the crap? There's nobody out there. Let's go out and shoot around. Nope. You're not getting on until 12:15. Okay. And so everything was regimented. And I understand the reason and logic. It happens, and that's the way you run a good tournament, is by keeping things on schedule. All right, so we get there. We go through all of that, and you're excited. You're in the NCAA tournament. You've made the big dance. You're playing the last year's national champion, Michigan Wolverines. We're supposed to just roll over, lay dead, and let them run laps over top of us. Somebody forgot to tell us about that part, though. We were just silly enough
smart enough to figure it out.
We could win that game, and by God, we almost did. We ended up losing. What was it, by 6, Johnny?
Yep, 70. Like I just told you, Coach, we were talking about this right before, in our warm up with talking with our special guest.
Yep.
77 with 90 seconds to go. It is 70-70.
Yeah, they were.
And the announcers don't know what to say.
Again, like you and I were chit-chatting prior to that, they kept thinking we were going to roll over at any time. All right, these guys are about to. This could be the final blow for the Redbirds. Okay, they're about to pack in their tank. Nope, there was no die in you guys. You weren't. There was too much pride. We had come too far throughout that season to roll over to anyone. And it didn't happen, but dang it, we had a chance. We were right there, baby. We were right there. And you know what? Again, one of the cool parts, one of the best memories I have is after the game, you never feel good after a loss. Never. It just eats at you and tears with you forever and ever. But there was a certain camaraderie and or pleasure, I guess, maybe, that in that locker room afterwards, we knew we shocked a lot of people that night. And we knew that the Redbirds were for real, baby. We didn't come out here to play second fiddle to anybody. I don't give a crap who you are, where you're from. And you guys laid it on the line, and we felt proud. There was a sense of pride in that locker room afterwards of what we had done that night.
Yep.
No question. No
Played
question.
our best game. So
5 guys off of the Michigan team
all
ended
right,
up in the
awesome.
NBA. Yeah, they had
For a
careers.
long
They didn't
time.
have a cup of coffee. They had careers in the NBA.
Absolutely. All right, next one you gave me a list of things to talk in. We're doing great here. You want to talk about that European trip. So we can neither confirm nor deny that there might have been an NCAA violation on that trip because somebody might have taken a shot in a game that was not an official Redbird and made that said shot. But we cannot say any names because the names must remain secretly sworn away to secrecy.
Might have been made by a now commissioner of a league who serves on the basketball rules committee. And that's one of my favorite memories of all time too. Is we had so much fun on the European trip, and any coach and or player that makes those trips understands the importance of them. We came back the next year, and you have alluded to, John, we didn't have a lot of wins that next year. We take this European trip, and it sets the stage for 2 more regular season championships after that. And all started with the European trip that you laugh, you giggle, you exchange thoughts, you're confined and trapped with each other the entire time. So you better learn to get along. Everybody always talks about bonding. Well, it's like a family, because sometimes you'll want to hug your family at Christmas when you get the greatest presents, and sometimes you just want to smack your brother. And it happens on those kind of trips, and then you laugh about it. And the ones that you see bonding and getting together are the ones that end up making a difference in your season. Those trips mean so much. And I'll take it a step further. I see these kids entering transfer portals now and leaving a school after 1 year or maybe 2 years and not getting to experience those kind of things. Are you kidding me? You're passing up a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to chase greener pastures that you don't know what they are yet. And the greener pastures might be at home on a trip you take to Europe or something of that nature. And so I shake my head. They're missing out on things they don't realize they're missing out on.
All right, Coach. One more question here. And so your nickname is Bullet. But your nickname started... amen. You know I'm going here. So we know you as Speedy Bullet. The longer you coached after ours, you became known as Bullet, and so everybody refers to you as Bullet. So how did you come up with the name? Well, it was Silver Bullet, then it became Speedy Bullet, then became Bullet. So how did John, Silver Bullet come about?
You do things personally and professionally that as you get older, you look back on and you go, oh my God, why did I do that? This is one of those moments. And it stuck with me, and it still sticks with me today. I'm still referred to as Bullet by a wide variety of people. But here it is in a nutshell, and it's not even that overly exciting. We're on a road trip to what was then Southwest Missouri, now Missouri State. And it's the night before the game. We're done with everything. We've had dinner. We've done we had practice, dinner, back up to the room for film session, individual position breakdowns and discussions with coaches. Then we come back, have our coaches get together and discussion, and it's, okay, I'm thirsty. We go downstairs, Coach Bender and I, we go downstairs and we're going to have one drink and go to bed. We got to unwind. Well, there's a guy sitting at the other end of the bar that sees we have Illinois State gear on. to say this guy was a little tipsy would be underrating where he was at that point in time. And he starts blowing us crap up one side and down the other about how Mickey Mouse Redbirds are, and just goes on and on. He said, you guys couldn't even win a drinking contest, let alone a basketball game. I said, wait a minute, pal. I've heard enough of you. Now, at this hour, there's him, Coach, and I, and maybe two other poor people sitting in this lonely little hotel bar. I said, let's bring it on, partner. Turn the ball cap on backwards. Let's have at it. The bartender says, okay, here's the rule. I'll serve them one at a time. You got 1 minute to drink them. Coach Bender says, Redbird pride, dude. Don't let me down. Boom! We both hit the first one. Under a minute, no problem. The guy serves up the second one. Boom! We're doing great. I'm on pace. We're rolling. Next thing I know, this guy falls off his chair. He's gone. He is out for the night. They help him get out. And from that point on, Coach referred to me as the Silver Bullet because I was drinking Coors Light, which was labeled the Silver Bullet. And that is how it happened.
After you got done coaching these guys here, right, and you got all the ties community and so forth, you went to broadcasting. So you did a whole bunch of ISU games. So I know if I was broadcasting, I'm watching the games, I'd be emotional and stuff like that. And I know, some people might tuning in from other schools might think,
who cares?
Slide a little bit towards Illinois State. But how did you? Yeah, that's what I say. But how did you keep your emotions intact and stuff like that? During the good times, the bad times during those games, and then tell us. We were talking before this broadcast. Tell us about what happens during these games.
To keep your emotions intact it was a lot easier on the radio because I knew no one ever had a chance of seeing me. So I could be, my arms could go out, I could flail, my facial expressions could be whatever, and no one was ever going to see me on the radio. I had a face made for radio. And if we threw the ball away on a breakaway or something, and it was killing me, but you tried to remain intact as you portrayed that on air. But in television, you never know when that camera's going to come around. It was a little more difficult. One time during a commercial break, and I did all my games on TV with Kurt Pagler. Kurt took the headphones off, tapped me, and said, "Would you turn loose of my arm? You are going to break my arm." Oh, I didn't even know I had a hold of it. Well, if we didn't make 15 turnovers, I wouldn't be grabbing your arm, Kurt. He said, but I haven't made one yet, Bob. Leave me alone. So it's a little difficult to be unbiased, and it's a little difficult to be not emotional, because as Johnny can attest to, I have a tendency to get fired up when doing ball games, whether it be practice or the game. And so while I'm doing games, I get a lot of assistance that people aren't aware of. Right there, John holds his phone. I'm getting text messages from John. I probably, at times, I had as many as 20, 25 people that were former players and or coaches that are saying, what the hell's going on? Why won't they feed the post? Pemberton. Why won't they throw the ball in the post, Coach? What's going on? Well, John, they don't allow me to walk across court and offer suggestions during timeout. I'm just relaying what they're doing out there. And it's amazing. Like I said, I would get up to 20, 25 different text messages regarding things. Todd Cagle always had a bright idea or two that I should throw on air. There were Chad Altadonna would always have suggestions. Oh, there was all kinds of guys that were willing to text me while a ball game's going on. Guys, I'm not coaching them. I'm just talking about it. So there was always a lot of ideas coming my way through text messages.
And you responded too. I mean, I was always amazed because I know Cagle and I and CA and all these other guys, we chat. And we were always,
it'd be rude not to.
Impressive job. All right. You're doing a job. You're getting paid. I'd be like, you knuckleheads didn't listen to me when I was coaching you. Why should I talk to you now?
Thing, John, right? Before we do sign off.
Coach.
That season in 89-90
Yep.
will always have a special place in my heart, and I know for many of us it does. The ups and downs we went through, the run we got on at the end. We finished the season before we got the NCAA. I believe it was a 12-3 run we put on at the end through the tournament. The excitement that took place at Redbird Arena and all of that. I just, publicly want to say thank you to you and all the fellas. You made an old man happy. And I will go to my grave smiling about that. And I appreciate what you did. Thank you.
It was a great year. And, Coach, thank you for coaching me and putting up with my knuckleheaded, dumb 22-year-old self. And I got a great picture, which I'll post up here, of you and Coach Eric Hughes talking to Gerard and I, probably telling you dumbbells block out, right? And so, but no, you guys were great. And coming from, the Donewald type coaching to a Bender type coaching, there was probably 2 or 3 months where you had to deprogram us from that thing. And so, again, it was amazing. It was a team effort. One of the things that Steve and John always laugh about after the Gerard interview was the fact that, Steve was commenting that Gerard's saying, no, you did a great job. And you're saying, no, you did a great job. And he's like, you two won't take credit for it. You're giving credit to everybody else. This is 30 years later, right? And if we had an ISU team like that today, we'd be going to the dance again, right? And it's a very different mentality by players, and I hope they someday can learn that. But, Coach, we got to wrap this up. This has been Bird Fans Forever. Our special guest, Bob Morris, my great coach. And so, Jon Diener, Mr. Engineer, will you take us out? Hello, and welcome back to our Proud Redbirds segment on Bird Fans Forever podcast. Today, our Proud Redbirds are Dave Stappenback, Jared Wheat, and Bobby Wheat. And we will be doing a 6-round draft of ISU Redbirds. So, with that, Jared has an interesting story.
Yep, I have a small connection with Coach Morris. So I went to U High, graduated in 05, and Coach Morris was the girls basketball coach, and I think the PE teacher there. So he also taught driver's ed. So I got assigned to Coach Morris as my driver's ed teacher. And we know he can coach basketball, but he also can teach driver's ed, because I've only had 2 speeding tickets in about 19 years of driving. So I think those are pretty good numbers. So thank you, Coach Morris, for your teaching there.
Jared, that was an awesome story about Coach. Love it. Okay, so we are going to be doing a draft here with former ISU players and current players if you want to pick one. So we have, we're going to do snake order, and we're going to do 6 rounds, 5 starters and a first person off the bench. We're going to start with Jared.
Yep, I got the easiest pick. So the guy's name is on the court. He's got a statue in front of the arena. His jersey's up in the rafters. All-time leading scorer, Doug Collins.
Next up, with the second pick, Team Dave.
So I'm going to go with Tyrese Bryson. If he would have had 4 years of eligibility, then he would be number 2 on the all-time scoring list. I mean, just look what he did. 38 points at Purdue in the NIT.
Next up was Team Bobby with the third pick.
All right, I'm going to go way back before my time. I'm going with the Iceman. I'm taking Ronnie Jones. I've watched the film from the Houston NIT game. As a freshman, knocking down 2 free throws to send it to overtime against Houston, 1,839 points, and he's second all-time in assists. That's who I'm going with. I'm taking Mr. Clutch, the Iceman, Ronnie Jones.
Next up, Team Steve with the 4th pick.
All right, I'm going to take the number 12 all-time scorer, and he did it in 3 years as well. And his last 2 years, he averaged over 18 points, 8.2 and 7.5 rebounds. His game would translate to today. Rico Hill. He can shoot the 3 and pound it inside.
Next up, with the 5th pick, Team John.
So I'm taking it back a few years also to a guy who can score and get a whole bunch of rebounds. I'm going to take Jeff Wilkins. He had 21 points and 11 rebounds in his last year at Illinois State. I went to the NBA for 6 years. So I'm taking Jeff Wilkins.
So I have the 6th and 7th draft. So with the 6th pick, I am going to take my boy Randy Blair from East Peoria. He played in the 2nd annual last game at Horton Fieldhouse. He played in the first game at Redbird Arena. He is a Missouri Valley Conference Tournament champion. Played in 2 NITs and played against Michigan in the NCAA Tournament. So my 6th pick is Randy Blair. My 7th pick is my boy Gerard Coleman from North Chicago, number 52. He also played in the 2nd annual last game at Horton Fieldhouse. He also played in the first game at Redbird Arena. Also played in 2 NIT. Also won and I'm being very annoying, also won the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament and played against Michigan. So with the 7th pick, Gerard Coleman. With the 8th pick, it's to Jon Diener.
So I'm taking a guy who I really loved watching play. He could score, take it to the rack, basically do pretty much anything. Loved watching him. Osiris Eldridge.
Mr. Excitement.
Mr. Excitement, right.
Next up, with the 9th pick, is Team Steve.
All right, we're going to turn back the clock, and we're going to take the 2nd all-time scorer in Redbird history, and that's Billy Lewis, 6'6", averaged 8 rebounds, 7.9 rebounds, and shot 77.6% from free throws. He can do it all. He can put the rock in the basket. Mr. Offense, Billy Lewis.
Next up, with the 10th pick, is Team Bobby.
All right, now I watched a lot of film. They said that, John, you were the strongest player in the Bob Donewald era when he was there. But I think this guy was stronger. I'm going with Rick Lamb as my pick here. 28 double-doubles, could score, could rebound, a little bit of enforcement. So I'm going with that as my pick.
Oh, that was a great pick in Rick Lamb. And I had to run up against him a couple times my freshman year. It was brutal. So next up is Team Dave with the 11th pick.
So I'm going to go with the last Redbird that was the Larry Bird Trophy winner, the all-time steals leader, Paris Lee.
Next is Team Jared with the 12th pick.
Yep, I already got the all-time leading scorer. I got to get the guy that scored the most points in a single game. So I'm going to go with Bubbles Hawkins, who put up 58 against Northern Illinois. He can score, drafted by the Golden State Warriors.
That is the end of round 2. So now we're at the start of round 3. We did take a little pause there. We did find out that Jared's kind of pissed off at his brother because it sounds like Bobby's just stealing all Jared's picks because we actually had a previous round but had a little technical difficulty. So, yeah, Ann might have to do some brotherly, counseling there. And so
I've carried him all my life, so I can't keep doing it.
And Bobby, we would like to thank you for wearing an ISU sweatshirt. We were worried that you might, as an assistant coach at Wesleyan, you might break out the green gear.
I didn't have my Elite 8 T-shirt on or anything like that today. I got the Illinois State stuff on. I heard. So
Good. Okay, we're starting round 3 with the 13th pick, Jared.
I need a big guy, so I'm going to go with the guy that went to 3 straight NCAA tournaments in the 80s, hit the game-winning shot against Alabama for ISU's first ever NCAA win. Big Lou Stefanovic.
Lou. Great pick. With the 14th pick, Dave.
So, as the saying goes, as Slick Rick brought Horton to its feet, I am going to go with my old man's favorite player, Rickey Jackson.
Slick Rick. Yep.
Another Mr. Excitement.
Yeah, another Mr. Excitement. Yeah, his left-handed dunks were just phenomenal.
Especially over Benoit Benjamin.
Yeah, I was at that game as a senior in high school. Got to come down to see that game. With the 15th pick, Bobby.
All right, I'm going to go back to even before the Division I era. I'm going to go with a college division guy. I'm going to go with Fred Marbury. He's fourth in rebounding, averaged 22.1 points per game and 11 rebounds, averaged a double-double. A big guy, and he was ruled ineligible his second semester of his senior year, or he would have done even more damage. So that's who I'm going with. I'm going a little bit off the grid, but I'm going with Fred Marbury for my pick.
That was a great pick. All right, that's the 15th pick. The 16th pick goes to Team Steve.
All right, I'm picking a person, an all-around player that can do everything. He can score some points for you. He can rebound, and he can play defense. He was Defensive Player of the Year for the Missouri Valley. And we learned in episode 1, this is very important since we only got 6 players. You need someone that can play 45 minutes and not break a sweat. Is Dan Muller. We're going to take Dan Muller.
Was that a reference to my joke I made to him about being, after 42 minutes of play, looking like an Abercrombie and Fitch model?
Yes.
Yes.
Still look good after 45 minutes.
Yeah. Dan Muller. Love him. He was our first guest. That was an honor. To the 17th pick is Team John.
And so I'm going to take Dan's teammate, Jamar Smiley. He was I need a point guard for my team, so I think he was always at the top of the assist list nationally when he was playing. So I'm going to go with Jamar.
Great pick. Jay Smiles. Okay, so with the 18th pick, Team Pemberton is going with his version of Slick Rick, Rickey Jackson. Again, played in the second annual last game at Horton Fieldhouse. He played in the Missouri Valley Championship, had an awesome tournament, played in the NCAA Tournament with me, played in the first game of Redbird Arena. Just incredible steal and a dunk there at the end of with 90 seconds to go to tie us up at 77 with Michigan. Slick Rick. I am then going to turn around with my 19th pick and take Richard Thomas, my freshman point guard, arguably still one of the top 5 point guards, could score and get assists, fit in wonderfully as a freshman, but then would go on to lead Illinois State to 2 other Missouri Valley Conference championships. And so my 19th pick is Richard Thomas. You notice I didn't play in the first annual Horton Fieldhouse game or the Redbird game because he wasn't there yet, so he was still in high school. So with the 20th pick goes to Team John.
All right, so I'm going to take a guy. Steve actually bought his book for me. He averaged 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists when he was playing. So Rick Whitlow.
Yeah, and Steve was kind enough to get all of us his book. Yes, yeah. I have the book also. We have it signed. I got a chance to talk to him after Steve purchased the book for the 3 of us, and a great chance to talk to him before he passed. So I love listening to him.
Super kind. I can tell you this. Like, I sent him a couple of emails when we were getting the books, and he was like corresponding with me, and he didn't know me from Boo. So super nice.
Yeah. So yeah, great guy. So now to Team Steve, pick number 21.
All right. So, I agree with you guys. I think, Bobby, you took Mr. Jones, right? And John, you took Smiley. But you need a good point guard, right, to quarterback your team. And why not take the point guard that went to 3 consecutive NCAAs? And for me, this is a favorite of mine. He was a senior when I was a freshman. Got to watch him play. Michael McKenney. And by the way, Lou Stavanovich gets that open shot because Michael McKenney feeds him the ball.
Yep. Michael McKenney. Yeah, got to play against him too. God, he could. Randy learned a lot from, Summers playing against Michael McKenney. He was awesome. With the 22nd pick, it goes to Team Bobby.
All right, and I don't think he's been taken here, but I'm going to go with Jared. Let me teach you this. He's the all-time field goal percentage shooter in Illinois State history. I'm going with Tony Hollifield. That's my pick. So, not free throws, field goal percentage. So, that's what I'm taking.
We got to explain this joke here. All of us are laughing at this because in our mock first draft, before Dave had a technical incident with his computer, which we're not sure is really technical or on purpose. We're still trying to investigate that. But Mr. Jared Wheat explained that Hank Cornley shot 70% from the floor, which after Steve did some fact checking and Jared realized he read his free throw percentage, we're all laughing about it. And of course, Bobby has to give him grief on it. So since Bobby opened the door, I had to explain it.
Thanks,
job,
Bob.
Bobby.
Appreciate you bringing that up. Appreciate it.
I'm sure I'll get a Christmas card this year.
Yep.
And again, I think Ann's going to have to start doing some more family counseling here. So, Ann Wheat, legendary state farmer. Okay.
Hollifield played when we went to school. Played with you, John, right?
You did.
Not super tall, but he had that body, created space, and knocked down that 2 foot, 4 foot shot, time and time again.
Yep, great player. He could snake his way between guys. He was elusive in the post. So that gives us to the 23rd pick, and that's Dave.
So I'm going to go with the big. He was picked in the 8th round of the NBA draft by the San Antonio Spurs, the late Del Yarborough.
Great pick, Big Del. The last pick of the 4th round, number 20, the 24th pick goes to Jared.
Hey, I'm going to take a guy that shoots 72% from the free throw line. He's a heck of a player. 8th in scoring in school history, 3rd in career rebounds, Hank Cornley.
Love Hank the Tank. So, love it. All right, that is the end of round 4. Start of the 6th round, going with the 25th pick to Team Jared.
Yeah, I really need a good point guard to spread the ball around, so I'm going to go with Derek Mays. 14th in points in ISU history and 3rd in assists. So I'm going to go with Derek Mays.
Big D, good call. All right. With the 26th pick goes to Team Dave.
So I'm going to go with everybody's favorite kick and the best celebration ever after a game-winning shot, Jackie Carmichael.
The best.
Love the karate kick. Big Jackie. Nice job. With the 27th pick goes to Team Bobby.
All right, I had to choose whether I picked with my head or my heart for this one. I wanted the shooter. I went back, I watched Jeff Harris versus Creighton, the 8 threes. By far the most pure shooter, but I'm going with my heart because of March 20th, 1995. Antonio Cooper brought the house down at Redbird Arena against Washington State. I was a ball boy that night. Might have been the loudest Redbird Arena's ever been since 1990 for the Valley finale, but I'm going with Antonio Cooper for my shooting guard.
Great pick.
The RBA erupted when he made that three.
Yeah,
erupted.
Awesome. Yeah. That was a monster shot, too. All right, with the 28th pick, Team Steve.
All right, so I don't know if you guys noticed the theme. I do have a point guard, but I have a 6'6", Mr. Hill, Muller 6'6". I got Billy Lewis 6'6". I got to pick another 6'6" guy, and so I'm going to go with Roger Powell. And if you guys listened to the last episode, okay, Randy explained that Roger would go to the corner, right, and pump in long shots, and there's no 3-point shot back then. So he was 20th. He averaged over 19 points his senior year, plus almost 6 rebounds, and with 3-point shot, it would have been even more. And John can attest to this. I saw him still playing in his 60s, right, at the alumni game. Yeah, and he used to come in and practice with you guys, right, and 10 years out of school and light it up. So Roger Powell.
Mad Bomber. Yeah, we were in Horton Fieldhouse after the season, my sophomore year, and he came in. It was Sam and I and Ricky and Randy, and we were just in there shooting around, doing some drill work. Coaches had left, and we were just sitting in chairs laughing, and he comes walking in, and Sam's like elbowing us. You know who that is? We're like, no. As players, you don't always know the history very well, especially young players. You do as you start to get older. And wanted to play a game of horse, and needless to say, he smoked all four of us. I was the first one out, duh. But I mean, some of the shots he was standing out of bounds shooting, right? Just unbelievable. So the Mad Bomber. All right, with the 29th pick, Team John.
So I need a bookend for Jeff Wilkins, and so I'm going to take another big. Ron DeVries averaged 16 points and 14 rebounds. So I think he'd be a great addition to the team with Jeff Wilkins.
Great addition to the team. All right. So that brings to me, and I have the 30th pick. I am going to take Derek Sanders, who was a senior when I was a freshman and a sophomore, Big D. Played on 2 NCAA teams and took a team his senior year to the Elite 8 game against Lionel Simmons in LaSalle. And we talked about some of the dumpy gyms I've played in. That was probably LaSalle was the worst, right? Lights were on one side of the ceiling. You couldn't basically shoot a 3 from the right side corner because you'd be looking straight into lights. It was ridiculous. So Derek Sanders is my 30th pick. My 31st pick, I'm going with my 6th man. I was going to go CA, who actually got a 6-man award. I also thought about Rob Gibbons, who got a 6-man award, Big Gibby. But I'm going to take my boy, Sonny Roberts. Started as a freshman with him. We both redshirted. Played in the first annual, second last game of Horton Fieldhouse. Played in the first game of Redbird Arena. Missouri Valley Conference champion, and played in Michigan against Michigan. So my boy, Sonny Ray Roberts. All right. That is the 31st pick. The 32nd pick goes to Team John.
So I'm going to take the most improved player from last year, who unfortunately is not going to be a Redbird anymore, but he's been he was great for the team this past year, averaged 20 points. Antonio Reeves.
Great pick. Sorry to see him go to Kentucky.
Same here.
So, all right. I'd rather see him go to Kentucky than go to Bradley.
Oh,
right. So, yeah, I'm glad he didn't stay in the Valley. So, all right. With the 33rd pick, it goes to Steve.
All right. So with this next pick, I'm going to take one of my favorite players, and I got excited about this player watching him when he was in high school. He was played for Spring Valley, and they won I believe a couple state championships. I remember watching him. It was probably old WGN on there, and just getting excited that he was coming to ISU, and he was just this pure shooter. And I still think if Bryson stays healthy, and Sean Jepson's there, that season's going to be a much better season. And unfortunately, Bryson got hurt. But the other thing, I know you thought the greatest game-winning shot was Carmichael's. When Jepson, that inbounds play and turnaround shot, that was spectacular. Okay, and just a great three-point shooter. So, Mr. Jepson.
Yeah, that was an incredible turnaround, right? So, yeah. Great job by Sean. All right, with the 34th pick, Bobby.
All right, here's a guy I just absolutely loved, especially going to basketball camps. I thought he was probably the most fun player there. I'm going with Leroy Watkins. I'm matching up him and Rick Lamb together for my fives. So, but love Leroy, and that's my pick here.
Yeah, wow, that was two great true centers. All right, with the 35th pick, Dave.
So I'm going to go with everybody's favorite mullet. I believe he's still top 20 in scoring, Mike Vandegaard.
Big Mike, yes. Vandy is gone at 35th pick. And for the last pick, I don't think we can call him Mr. Irrelevant like they do in the NFL. So, Jared, you got to bring us a good one here.
Well, I looked at my team and I realized I don't know if anyone played with a 3-point line on my team, so I need a 3-point shooter. All right, and though this guy only played at ISU 1 year, but was one of my favorite players, Champo Gucci. I think he had 93 pointers, which I believe is a school record for most in one season. So that guy could light it up. He's a matchup problem. He was tall and lengthy, so go Champo Gucci.
That is a great pick. So that is the end of our proud Redbird draft. So thank you for sticking around this far. What's going to happen now is we're going to post this out on the boards, and we're going to put a vote to it. So we're going to let the fans on the board, the Redbird fan board, and the website is redbirdfan.net, right? .net. Thank you. Wanted to make sure I got that right. Please go out there and vote for your favorite team, whether that's Team Jared, Team Dave, Team Bobby, Team Steve, or Team John. And we'll do a recap later and bring these back on, and we'll see how everybody did, and they can kind of defend their teams. So we'll do a follow-up here in a month or two, and we'll enjoy this. So with that, I'd like to thank Jared and Bobby and Dave for joining us and giving us their perspective on players that they either saw or wanted to put on their team. And with that, thank you for listening to Bird Fans Forever. And Mr. Engineer, time for the applause.